In my life, I found that when things are too good to be true, they're normally not true. And when something gets overvalued and the world doesn't recognize it, it's still overvalued. And that's particularly true in the stock market. And I think it's beginning to turn true relative to Tesla. I think that Elon has just gotten in bed with some of the ugliest people that he could, and now he's going to face it. He's made some bad decisions. And if you as a stockholder don't bring that into your thinking, then you're ignoring the obvious. He's suffering Coyote Ugly. And let me share with you exactly what I mean. Let me share with you Elon's words and what he said about his current situation.
Both Berlin and Austin factories are gigantic money furnaces right now. It should be like a giant roaring sound, which is the sound of money on fire.
He called it a factory fire. Yeah, that's what he called it. Then last week, the director of the FBI, Chris Wray, weighed in, not particularly on Tesla, but putting out a general warning to be careful of who you get in bed with, particularly if they're Chinese. Listen to what he has to say, particularly the last statement he makes.
Consistently see that it's the Chinese government that poses the biggest long-term threat to our economic and national security. And by our, I mean both of our nations along with our allies in Europe and elsewhere. The Chinese government is set on stealing your technology, whatever it is that makes your industry tick, and using it to undercut your business and dominate your market. And they're set on using every tool at their disposal to do it. And those efforts pale in comparison to their lavishly resourced hacking program that's bigger than that of every other major country combined. The Chinese government sees cyber as the pathway to cheat and steal on a massive scale. But in addition to traditional and cyber-enabled thievery, there are even more insidious tactics they'll use to essentially walk through your front door and then rob you. The Chinese government likes to do this by making investments and creating partnerships that position their proxies to steal valuable technology.
Was he talking about Tesla? I think he was. The Chinese basically gave Elon the land to build the Shanghai factory, then manned it with all the people to learn all his technology and helped him get it up off the ground. Do you really think they just love Elon that much? No, this is Coyote Ugly. You also probably heard last week that the Germans are rationing their electricity such that you can only have hot water 1 hour a day. And this is because Vladimir has basically threatened them to say, either you come to my side on this issue of me expanding into Ukraine, or I'm going to come this winter cut off your supply of oil and natural gas, so your people aren't going to be able to heat their homes. Well, do you think that maybe that might affect Elon's plant there in Berlin? And he called it a factory that was burning money. Now it won't burn anything because it will be shut down. Maybe Elon will get an hour a day when he can make cars. I don't know, but I believe that Elon has put himself in a very precarious position on a number of fronts. Then we've got the situation with Twitter. This man made some bad decisions. This was another one. And he's now going to have to either fight in court to get out of it, pay up front $1 billion if that gets him out of it, or belly up to the $44 billion. What kind of person makes that kind of mistake? What kind of CEO puts themselves in that position? What kind of CEO climbs into bed with a country that has said we will bury you economically? What kind of CEO does that? So you need to evaluate, are you with the right company here? Or is Tesla the last bubble to burst. And let me go to my charts, and let's go to Seeking Alpha and see what other people are saying. Let's just don't rely on Kerry. Let's see what other people are saying about Tesla and maybe look at their financials and see if this is where we really want to be. You might be wondering, Kerry, how do you come up with an idea for a video every day? Well, I look at what other people are talking about, and particularly I go to Seeking Alpha. I have found this is a tool I discovered, I guess, about a year and a half ago, and they just they dig deep into not only what's happening with specific companies, but what's happening in the market. And this is my page for Seeking Alpha for Tesla. And as you can see, they're showing me under maximum that the stock from its IPO, which looks like to be somewhere back here in 2010, the stock is up 21,517%. Is that unusual? Yeah, I think it probably is. It also is telling me that it has a market cap of, let's see, 720.5 billion. It's also, I was told or found on here, it is the highest traded stock in the stock market. It has more volume, even at a price of $752 a share. So that tells you it's pretty volatile. If we look at a year to date, it's down about 37%. What I then like to do is say, okay, what are other people saying? And here's a young guy. In fact, I researched him, and Jordan is, I believe, a college student, and he wrote this story this morning. This is July the 9th, and he's saying a strong buy. So I clicked on it to see basically what he's talking about, and he is basically, that's where I got the words that this may be the last bubble of the 2021 surge in the stock market to burst. Around the enthusiasm for Tesla is unwavering. With a 1% earnings yield, Tesla is the last bubble standing. Elon's diverted focus is not good news for AI and autonomous drive. He is selling stock hand over fist, and I think we all know that. And you have to question. I know he needs to pay his taxes, but on the other hand, here's a guy. He's the CEO of the company you're betting your fortune on, particularly if you have a disproportionate element of your investments in Tesla. I think it's time to move in a different direction. Is a very deep look at their books and basically what kind of revenues are they generating. They have earnings. There is no doubt about that. You can see, in fact, they have in the past surpassed the predicted earnings on a regular basis, and I think it's questionable about this year because, in fact, the Shanghai plants were closed down. As you can see, they're anticipating or projecting lower earnings for this quarter, but it will be interesting. I don't think that is really my concern. My concern is more far-reaching, and that is, as I've said, Homer, numerous times, they're still a car company. And I know that a lot of you believe they're a technology company, and that overweighs the fact that they're just a car company. But their technology is now being questioned. They have the technology for pretty much a full video anticipated, whereas I think it's called Lennar is one of more sonar. That is to say, it throws a pulse out and tells you where the cars are around you. Is that better? Is it not? I don't know. But there will be competition for the technology. The other thing that I think is of question is, are these cars actually, when we get to the point where we have 80%, then they're saying that's somewhere between 2030 and 2035 of electric cars. Are you going to be able to get it charged? And are you going to be satisfied with the charging? I shop at Nita and I shop at a grocery store, a supermarket, and there's about 7, 8 charging points for Tesla there. And I notice every time I go in, they're sitting there. And then after I shop and I come out, they're still sitting there, sitting behind the wheel, reading a paper, reading a book while their car's charging. How long are you accustomed to getting your gas filled? Maybe 5 minutes. Maybe you go into Buc-ee's and get a sandwich or something, but you don't walk away and leave it. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it's going to be as acceptable as what we're accustomed to with gasoline cars. And then I guess the other thing is, we're doing it for a green movement. I understand that. But where do they get the electricity to charge this? Well, an electric plant. How is that electric plant going to handle the surge in the draw from all these cars? Are we going to have to upgrade all our electric facilities? And are the lines going to be capable? Have we really considered everything here? And I know some of you think wind and solar, but that ain't going to work on the eastern seaboard where people live in 70-story buildings. You aren't going to put a panel on the roof, and that's going to take care of how many units are in that apartment. And it just isn't going to work as simply as we are. So I'm not as excited about Tesla. In fact, I've sold all of my Tesla. Done a Fibonacci study on Tesla from its low of the Corona crisis to its high in November of 2021. And Fibonacci said, in fact, that Tesla would come down to 660, and you see it did. It crossed that. It actually got down to about 621. And then it said its next potential drop would be to 522. That's where I've kind of said I would be. And I say that I'm not interested in owning Tesla, but I do see that it's building a base here, and it's building a base that is supported at a price of about 610. I believe we're going to challenge that. I believe with the situations in China, I think it's going to become more and more public knowledge that China is not a stable situation. And again, I'm reading a book that basically tells me China will collapse within 5 years as the world power situation changes and the U.S. deglobalizes. So I wouldn't own Tesla at this point. Okay, so that's my take on Tesla, and I know it wasn't a win friends and influence people video, but I'm just not comfortable with it, and I think I am losing faith in Elon. He's making some bad decisions, and he's fallen into some traps, and that brings me to my reference of Coyote Ugly. When a coyote gets caught in a trap, there's a good chance it will eat its leg off. That is, in a trap, eat his leg off, and three-legged coyote leaves. That came into play, I guess, when I was at Ball State University back in the 60s, and the terminology said that you might get drunk sometime and you might go out and pick up a young lady or a young man and go back to their apartment and end up in bed with them, and then wake up in the morning and you're trapped. He or she has got her head on your arm, and they're as ugly as sin, and you made a mistake. You made a terrible mistake, but you don't want to wake your mistake up. You just chew your arm off. That's Coyote Ugly. I think Elon has got about 3 Coyote Ugly he's got to deal with. He's got a problem in China, and that is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. He's got a problem with Russia and in his plant in Germany, and that's not going to go away. that also is going to get worse. And then he has a problem that he opened his big mouth up and promised and signed for a $44 billion purchase, and that's not going to go away. So would I want to be married to this guy? Would I want to say, yes, I'll spend the rest of my life with you, Elon, because I love you so much, and you're such a good person, and you make such good decisions, and you're so easy to live with? No, I would not. I wouldn't marry the guy. So I'm not going to invest a big part of my fortune with him because I don't trust him. I don't trust him to make good decisions. I guess that's what it comes down to. I don't think he's evil. I don't think he's misdirected. I just think he's the kid in your class back in college who just might do anything. And sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad, but he just might do anything. And I don't want to invest my money in that. There's too many other good opportunities. There's too many other well-managed companies that can give me a substantial return. So that's my take on Tesla. I know I didn't make any friends. I'll probably lose some subscribers. But if you want an honest opinion, and if you want an opinion from somebody who's more than 29 years of age, who's experienced these things, who's been down this road, who has a CFP, a CHSC, a CLU, who has worked in the industry, then this is a place for you. You don't always have to agree with me. Hell, I had a meeting yesterday, Friday, and openly, we don't agree with that. That's okay, because that's a community. That's a tribe. That's a group of people who just want to, not only just want to make money, but want to hang around each other and share ideas. That's what this channel's all about. That's what it's going to grow to. And what I think is also beautiful, we can give it to you for free. That's the new business model. If you haven't figured that out from Google, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, give it to them for free. All right. Talk to you again tomorrow.